the Apache Junction Water District meeting to order. Roll call.
Chairperson Wilson,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Rizzi,
Present.
Board Member Biggs,
Present.
Board Member Evans,
Here.
Board Member Gremmel,
Here.
Board Member Nesser,
Present.
Board Member Schroeder.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. Agenda items. Do we have for approval of meeting minutes? Do I have a motion to approval of the minutes?
Your Honor, I move that the minutes of October 20th, 2020 be approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Board Member Schroeder,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzi,
Yes.
Board Member Nesser,
Yes.
Board Member Evans,
Yes.
Board Member Biggs,
Yes.
Board Member Gremmel,
Yes.
Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor.
Okay. Discussion and approval and agreement with SV Development for a water line extension. Do I have a motion?
You want discussion a little bit before we get to the motion?
Okay.
We're all practicing. It's
Good evening, Chairman Wilson,
Discussion.
members of the
I
board.
skipped over that one.
That's okay.
I just thought it was such a great presentation, we didn't need one.
So we have a new subdivision coming in here to the city of Apache Junction, Superstition Vista subdivision. Dan Kaufman brought this development to the city, which has changed to Hillstone Development here in the recent past. And it's a 250 lot subdivision. It's located on Cortez, just south of Baseline. So kind of it's in the middle of the state land. There's nothing else around it currently. There's no other subdivisions. Going to give you an idea where it's at here, just east of the landfill at this point in time. So any major infrastructure that the water district does, the board needs to approve. So in this case, it costs the district really nothing to do these improvements. It's all developer funded at this time. So I just want to go through some of those costs that the developer has to pay to go through this process. So we have a water resource acquisition fee. So this pays for us to go out and purchase additional water so that we have water for these developments. In the past, we have a lease with Gila River Indian Community of 1,000 acre feet. So this goes out if we need to go purchase another or lease another 1,000 acre feet or 2,000 acre feet. This gives us the opportunity to do that and pay ourselves back for that cost that we went out and purchased that for. The next fee is our water system connection fee, which is our backbone infrastructure fees, where if we had a tank we built 10 years ago, we oversized it to 1 million gallons. Our customers shouldn't pay for oversizing that for future customers. These customers are actually paying for it at this point in time. So that's what these fees pay for. And then we have inspection fees, so for one of our employees to go out there and inspect that water line as it goes into the ground, so we make sure it's done per our specifications. And our last fee is just a meter fee for each of those meters that we install out there. They have to pay this fee so that we have that to install those meters and the cost for them. So the total cost, the district would receive from the developer is approximately $1.5 million when this project's done. Then also, as part of that, they have to go in and put all this infrastructure into the ground. So they're putting in water mains, services, fire hydrants, valves, everything else. So the last line item there on the bottom there is the engineer's cost estimate from the developer on how much that infrastructure would cost to put into the ground. So they're estimating $1.3 million to do that. In the end, that's all turned over to the water district, and this is what we'd have to maintain in the future. So just kind of going through that process. And the agreement spells out all these costs to the developer so he understands that when he needs to get things done, of if he has to get an approval to construct from the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality to their final approval of construction when the project's done, as built when plans are done and the project's complete, when he has to turn those over, and it goes through that process with them.
Do you guys actually install the water meters, or do you have like a sub-company do it? Does the water company itself install those?
We install the water meters. They'll install the service line all the way up to that water meter and the box. We just go out and install that meter, because that's usually when our first customer comes on board, is when we'll go out and install that meter. So that's why they pay for that meter fee to install that.
And then what about the fire hydrants? Do you guys do that, or who installs fire hydrants?
The developer will install that as part of the project, part of their infrastructure. So they take care of all that.
I was just curious to know who actually does it. Do they have, because I'm assuming it's a big deal to install a fire hydrant, so.
So they do it as part of the project when they're installing the mains, but if a new fire hydrant's in our existing system, that's when our employees would go out and take care of that.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this development?
I have a question.
Yes.
So this all starts with the notice to proceed.
Correct.
We get that notice. He has his contractors that starts putting in the infrastructure.
Yes.
Okay, only because it's happened to us several times, the economy takes a dump and it's halfway done.
Yes.
Does the water district itself hold any liability to those contractors? Or is it all on the developer, whether he goes bankrupt or not?
So we have two things in our agreement that cover this. So one, he has to bond all that infrastructure.
Mhm.
So if he goes belly up, we can collect on his bond and finish that project.
We would,
We would.
okay.
That's a good question.
If we chose not to, we haven't accepted those facilities at that point in time. So they're not our facilities. Until we go through and inspect everything and everything goes into the ground, then we send them a final letter saying, we've accepted these facilities. And that's when now we can start setting meters off that, and we have homes. And we wouldn't set any meters, establish service to anybody until the project's complete, and we give that letter to the developer.
Right.
So again, we may have a project that stalls out there, so it'll be a policy decision at that, if we want to move forward with and collect on a bond, or if we just let it sit there, and then until somebody comes along and completes that, and we accept it in the end.
Okay, thank you.
And in the agreement, we have a 5-year term that they have to complete it within 5 years on this project. We try working with the developer to figure out how long he thinks it's gonna take to finish his subdivision. In Belagave, he had 3 years in his project. It took him 18 months.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I inquire?
yes.
Okay. Question, when does the water district, or please explain to the board, when they actually get the acquisition fee and the connection fee and the other fees? When do they actually get them?
okay. So the water resource acquisition fee is our 100-year assured of water supply. So before we allow them to get their final plat and get it recorded, they have to pay that fee up front. Because once we say, yes, we will serve that project, now we've allocated that amount of water for 100 years to them. So they have to pay that before they even get the final plat recorded. So they have to have that letter as part of it. The water system connection fee is done as the developer comes in and he wants to start building houses, that's when he starts paying those fees, okay?
I guess the question is, for the first part, if you could explain what the 100-year water supply means. Some of the new board members probably don't know what that is. And also, is this going to be phased? So are the payments going to be phased for the connection fee?
So 100 years for water supply, ADWR, which is the Arizona Department of Water Resources, you have several ways that you can get your 100-year assured water supply. So we did a study. We became a designated provider so we can pump so many acre feet of water out of the ground each year, okay? We have CAP water that we can pump. So what we have to prove to the Arizona Department of Water Resources is that we have enough water in the ground or renewable resources to service so many customers or so much water to people. So we've created this bank account for us over the years. So as this developer comes in, they say, okay, I need 100 acre feet to service my development. So we say, okay, we will serve you. We give them a letter saying we'll serve you. Now we take that 100 acre feet out of our bank account at that point in time. So that's what these funds, those all have to be paid up front, because once we sign that letter, we're committed to that project at that time. We can't go back and say, well it's going to be less water. No, we're going to rewrite our check. You're in at that point in time. So they have to pay those fees up front. On the water system connection fee, we've worked it out with developers where they pay 25 units at a time. So we don't want to collect that up front. We want to get their infrastructure in. So when they start building houses, as in Lennar's case in Goldview subdivision, they wanted 11 houses to start. So we said, okay, you're going to pay for 25, and then you're going to send in a letter to us each time or an email telling you how many houses you want. Once you get around 20, we go back to them and say, hey, you're getting close. You may want to add an additional 25, so that it spends their capital a little bit over time rather than all up front. It spreads it out for them. Inspection fees, we get that up front. because we're out there inspecting the water lines that are actually going into the ground. And same thing with meter fees. We get those on a 25 lot basis as a system connection fee so that we have those available. So when they call us or send us an email, we can go out and install those meters. So kind of spreading out those costs over time for the developer on the 3 lower line items. But the initial one is the big one up front for the 100-year assured water supply.
But the question that we always get, or I don't know, I can't say we always get, but I get frequently, or we hear frequently, is about the water supply. So the 100-year water, that's important to know because living in a desert, you frequently hear, well, why are they building? Why are they building? Where's this water coming from? So, and even though some of us have heard it a few times, it helps to be refreshed on that also, because it's like, yeah, you're right, that's a good question. I can't remember how to answer it. So it's good to always, be refreshed on
Yes.
why we're okay and safe for our water supply.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is torture Mike night. So can I ask one more question?
Yes,
Sorry, Mike. Can you explain how these fees were arrived at? And were they based on a study originally? And how were they applied in this case?
Well, you're jumping ahead of me. I had
I'm
that in
sorry.
my presentation
Sorry
tonight,
about
and
that.
we'll go over that here in a little bit. So
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Oh.
That's okay.
and I have one on it. In the, I will say the 100-year water supply, how is that determined on the amount of water that we need to basically guarantee that they're going to get? Can they actually end up going well beyond that? Or how do we know that this is a good figure that they are using?
When our bank account goes dry, ADWR will come in here and say, you can no longer give them that letter, which at that point in time stops development here, so you guys will not be able to record any more final plats or move forward with any of those developments unless somebody else comes in with additional water to supply those. So that's why we want to stay out in front of this so that it doesn't stop development, and we want to continue getting our future supplies.
And so when you say bank account, you're talking about a water bank account, water storage bank
Ro-
account,
ro-
same concept, but yeah.
Sorry.
Well, what would prevent them from actually taking more water than what they have originally estimated?
We'd have to look at that. We have to do our ADWR report, which is Arizona Department of Water Resources report every year on an annual basis, and we'd watch those numbers as we grow. So even though they're estimating those numbers, it's overall for our system. And once we max out our numbers or our bank account's dry, that's when we'd run out of water. So if somebody over-allocated or went over some of those numbers, we'd have to do restrictions possibly or do different things to make that happen. There's no way to physically limit, but it'd be more of our planning stages where we'd stop saying, okay, you're not going to have 100 acres of turf, or you're not going to build this large industry that uses so much water, because we just don't have that much in our account to provide to you.
And there's a buffer. It sounded like you were talking about a buffer where, okay, we're getting down here, we gotta,
Right, so as part of that, we have to give the annual production that we did that year in our Department of Water Resources annual report, and then we have to do 10 years of additional numbers where we think growth is going to go, what percentage of growth we're going to have, and provide that to them so they can look forward to say, okay, either you're getting close or you're not, where your number's at this point in time. So they kind of watch over us on a lot of those things.
yeah.
Mike, but we're at, give or take, 1,600 or 1,700 acre feet currently. So we have quite a ways to go before we're even hitting that max or having these bigger conversations about not having development or things like that, correct?
Correct.
So nobody should have to worry about not having water when they turn their faucet on, provided they paid their bill.
Correct. None of our existing customers or any worries of anything like that. We've done a great for creating our portfolio of, effluent credits, different credits that we've provided, of getting additional resources and different things out there. Like you were saying, we're roughly at about 7,500 acre feet. Currently today, we use roughly about 1,500 acre feet. So we still have quite a bit of capacity left for future development.
Your Honor, we just want to stay 10 years ahead.
Yeah.
And so when we have smaller developments, to me, these are smaller infiller type developments, way less concerned as what we're going to be doing in the 4 square miles, which is where we got a lot more demand that's going to be put on our water resources. So we have to stay, in my mind, 10 years ahead. We're already starting to search for that next ability to have wet water.
Yep.
I have a question, Mr. Chair. This is kind of asking the same question again.
Sure.
but just so that it's clear in my mind. Before a developer can build, you have to approve them for 100 years of water.
Yes,
And in this bank account, you say, this development has so much water, and this one has so much water. So it's not gonna be the same number for all of these developments. But once you've guaranteed a certain area that has 100 years of water,
right?
and tomorrow you have to say no more because we ran out of water, the people who live here still know that they can still live here and have water for 50 years, 62 years, 100, whatever the number might be. That what's there already will not run out of water until that point.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Interesting stuff with this new development coming up.
Yes.
It is.
We're going to get into that a little later, too.
Yeah.
Again, it's more of this information just to keep you guys up to speed on where we're at and some different things that are going on out there.
This is a great practice run for all that's going to be coming. This is our first one that's south of Baseline, too. This is on Baseline and Cortez. We've known they've been wanting to come for a time, and they're finally getting organized enough to go to this next step.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on that before you guys do the next phase of it?
We took care of that already.
We
Okay,
already had the questions.
so
Okay.
now we're up.
Okay, so now, do we have a motion?
Your Honor, I move that the agreement between the Apache Junction Water Utilities Community Facilities District and SV Development LLC for a water line extension to the Superstition Vista subdivision and payment of a water resource fee be approved.
Second.
Roll call?
Board Member Nesser,
Yes.
Board Member Gremmel,
Yes.
Board Member Evans,
Yes.
Board Member Biggs,
Yes.
Board Member Schroeder,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rizzi,
Yes.
Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor, motion passes.
Okay, district managers report.
No report, Your Honor. Thank you.
District directors report.
I want to introduce to you guys our new superintendent here, Luisa Yardanova. She's going to step up here and kind of introduce herself a little bit to you, so I just want to bring her up now.
Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Luis Ordanova, and I'm very happy and glad to serve to the City Council chamber here in my capacity like Water District Superintendent. I have a very extended and long 30 years career in water, in both in America and in Bulgaria. My Masters of Chemical Engineering and Masters of Water Technology degrees are very instrumental in my careers, but I'm really proud of myself because I start my career digging trenches, and I went to the point where I can be a superintendent. Very, very happy and very looking forward to work with the community, to work with everyone, with the water board and the citizen of Apache Junction.
Welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you very much, and thank you for your attention.
Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you.
Now I have some updates from what's going on in the system. I know some of your board members were here in the past, and I just want to kind of keep you updated. So Superstition Area Water Plant, where we've been working on a raw water impound project that we started last year. We finished 30% design last year. We're at 60% design right now, planning on starting construction in March or April. It was approved by the previous board of $800,000 for this project this year. And then as we start our budgeting process for next year, we'll be working to that. So it'll be a 2-year project we're looking at for this raw water impound. This is at our new surface water plant. Well, it's about 5 years old. It's not new anymore. But we're expanding on that. It's giving us approximately about 2 million gallons of storage of raw water on site. So if something happens in the canal where a car goes in there, or something happens where we can't take water out of the canal for a day or two, we have a supply that we can use on site, and then we can refill that rather than just directly coming out of the canal at that point in time.
How long do you estimate that would last to cover us for? Just curious if you,
It's about a day.
Yeah.
It's 2 million gallons, and we do 1.5 million gallons a day, so we get about a day's worth of storage out of it. And it's really more an intermittent solution to most things. It's also gonna help with some of our turbidity, which is colored water. Before we treat it, it'll settle some of the solids out. So that'll help with some of that process. And we can add some different chemicals to it to treat some of our algae issues that we've had in the past coming directly off the canal. So gives us a little more operational flexibility as we go into the future.
Mike, I see on the 21-22, there's a need to budget for the remaining costs. About how much are the remaining costs?
They are working on a estimated cost for the total project. It's a design build project, so that they're in the middle of providing those to us. So probably within next board meeting or the following one, we'll have some estimated costs for those.
Thank you.
Any questions on this project? No? So as Bryant was mentioning earlier, state land, everybody's excited about it. I know you guys have all heard about it through the paper and through everything else, talking to the community. Again, it's 4 square miles south of baseline. We currently have a 4-inch line that goes by this project. So there's no major infrastructure down there via water, sewer, electric, cable, anything at this point in time. So the water district staff, city staff, sewer district staff, we're all working with developers on these master infrastructure reports. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, of how much demand do they need down in this area? How much can we allocate per each household to build the mains, to build tank sizes, to build production? How fast do we need to expand the plant? It's a major ongoing study that we're going to be doing. So just to come back to you guys, looking at the numbers of where we're at in these 4 square miles, we talked about water supplies earlier. We're looking at that. Probably at the end of this 4 square miles, we're going to be either just below our capacity or right at our capacity. So we have to start thinking about how we get those next buckets of water. And it all depends upon how fast this development goes. Is it going to be a 3-year development? Is it a 10-year? Is it a 20-year? Is it a 30-year? The economy is going to tell us how fast it's going to go. Developer has their plan, but we've got to plan ahead, just like we've done in the past. So we'll be reaching out to you guys, and I'm going to go over that a little bit more about water resources. How do we get those? How do we make acquisitions? How do we do different things? So we'll work through that process. Again, we have off-site and on-site infrastructure. So from our plant that we built, we're only using 1.5, so we have a 500,000 gallons more. Now we got to get that water supply down to this development. So they're going to be installing transmission mains, building a storage tanks in this area, building booster pump stations to pressurize the pipes so that we can keep water flowing to them all the time. Since it's a little bit further away from the city than we currently are, coming to the north, it's kind of on itself down there. So a lot of new infrastructure coming. One of the concepts that is part of, was approved by the city council and their general plan, was the one water concept. So yes, we have this account that we're going to use, but how can we make it so that account kind of replenishes itself? So is it purchasing more recharge credits that we do currently? Is it doing water reuse? Is it collecting some of that storm water? So these are all the options we're looking at in this whole one water concept, instead of like everybody's used to, with storm waters taking it, let's just send it downstream to somebody else. How can we keep it on our property and use it as a resource? Or the effluent credits from the sewer district. How do we just not put it in the ground? How do we get credits for it or directly reuse it at a cheaper cost? So we're looking at all these options as we get further past this 4 square miles of 10 years out, as Bryant was saying, or 20 years out, of how do we have these water supplies. So these will come up as we go through this process. And we're looking at those numbers that we talked about earlier, for this 258 units, $1 million, probably add a 0 to that, what we're looking at, some of these costs for this development at least, or more as we go through the process. So major scale, big things, we're talking probably 5,000 acre feet from our bank account, which we may have that available today, so it may go fast. So once we start doing those plats, we got to work through that process. So the final thing I want to talk to you guys about is an intergovernmental agreement. Joel has been working on with the water district and the sewer district. As part of this, working with the developer that has an option to purchase this property We want to have him deal with one entity rather than trying to come up with different agreements from the sewer district, the water district, and the city. So what we're trying to create is an intergovernmental agreement between the city, the sewer, and the water district, so they can negotiate with the developer on our behalf, getting our data, giving our information, giving our input to them, so that the infrastructure is designed the way we need it, but he's dealing with one entity rather than 3 separate ones.
Much more efficient.
Yes.
Way more efficient.
Yes. So we're working through that process. We're trying to get all the agreements so everybody's happy. And Joel's been doing a great job of getting that together for us. And so we're not only working with ourselves, but we also are providing this to the developer so he understands we're trying to make it more efficient for him to get through the process so that they don't have to negotiate different agreements and one doesn't work with the other one and different things that are happening there. So we're going
Mike,
through that process.
for that IGA, do you anticipate that being able to be handled within our current staffing, or are we going to need to maybe hire somebody that can handle the 3, that can play mediator between the 3 entities?
Well, currently, we don't need a mediator because Joel is the water board attorney and the
Right.
city attorney.
He's a pretty good mediator. He argues with himself.
Yes. And then we've been working with the attorney from the sewer district at this point in time. But
Okay.
Joel, if you want to go into more detail on that, or
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Board Member Biggs. Right now, I'm working with staff, we're getting input, and we have done that, we're in a final draft. We've talked to the SMUCFUD attorney, that's Superstition Mountain Community Facilities District number 1. Mike is WUCFUD, Water Utility Community Facilities District. Those are the acronyms. And we have worked with them. We've got red lines, and what will happen next would be that the document goes to D.R. Horton and also to State Land. If they come back with items that we are unable to negotiate, I certainly will bring in someone else. But I might have some other attorney look at it before we send it. But as for the negotiation, hopefully with Mr. Powell as the negotiator on the policy issues, I think we could be fine, but if we have to, we will.
Your Honor, thank you for bringing up the issue on staffing. In terms of staffing, at some point where you may see us, you'll see a little bit of some staffing need already tonight on being able to have the planning necessary and the engineering. What's next to will be the CFDs, the community facility districts that'll be established will need a staff member. We're not sure exactly how that exactly works, but that'll be over in the finance area to be able to manage that, because it's almost a whole nother board. There is a new board that we'll have.
yes.
Once we go through the painstaking process of getting this infrastructure done, we're kind of already there for the other development to come along. That's the good part of it, down the road, but, you have to go through the process in the beginning, and this was our first opportunity, so it's exciting. It's exciting, a lot of work, but it's exciting.
And our biggest thing right now is with these infrastructure plans and different things is getting a schedule from the developer so we understand for employees, how many do we need? Where does it need to start in planning to inspection to final maintenance of the facility? So how do we plan that all out? When do they think it's going to happen? We're working through that process with the city staff also right now to come up with those ideas, and when do we need those additional employees so we can bring it back to you guys and give you recommendations.
Okay.
Thank you.
And our last subject for the night is our water resource acquisition fee. So again, back in October, the board approved us going back to Tischler-Bice to do a new study over our water resource acquisition fee. So as I stated in previous meeting, we purchased 1,000 acre feet back in 2013 with the Gila Indian River community for $3 million. Gilbert went in and purchased some more additional acre feet. So ours was, per acre foot was $3,000 an acre foot. Gilbert went out and purchased their water back in 2017 for $5,000 an acre foot. Queen Creek, just this past year, when it purchased water on the river for $10,000 an acre foot, not delivered to their community yet. So as you guys can see, the price of water is going up tremendously and is not slowing down. So our water resource acquisition fee pays for that. So our fee was based on our 2013 numbers. Well, as we already know, those aren't any good anymore. So we reached out to Tischler Bice to redo this study to see what they currently are, what are the additional supplies and what their costs are gonna be, and what they're gonna be in the future, so that when we need that money to go purchase additional water supplies, they'll be available to us to go do that. So we're doing a study to figure that out, to see what can happen there. We're going back to our water system connection fee to understand, we've built some of those projects that were in our connection fee. Is there any other projects that we need? How does that go along with this? So they're gonna be doing that part of the study also to redo our water system connection fee. So we'll bring that back to you here once they get done with their study, probably in the next couple months. So you guys can take a look at them and see if we need to adopt those fees as we move forward. But they'll give us explanation, and in the past, we've done it off residential units. We may combine those all to meter size rather than having different units and different, first commercial, residential. So they're gonna give us a recommendation, go through a whole study for us, and then we'll present that back to you guys here in a couple months. Any questions on those?
Don't see any.
That's all I had tonight.
Okay. District's treasurer's report.
And again, we have a new district treasurer too, so I'm gonna bring her up here, which is Leslie, to tell a little bit about herself to you guys. I'm sure you guys may meet her a little later tonight also.
Yeah, so we'll have to figure out how to do this. We have her on also for the water, or for the city council, so we could do a little introduction now, if that'd be okay, and maybe do a little bit then for everyone else.
Okay.
We'll just pretend to not know you.
We could wait and do it then too.
Oh, do
Whatever.
it now.
Do it now, all right.
Stand right.
No guarantees, Leslie, that I might not do a little more tonight, so.
Okay, yeah, it already has my little bio up here. I'm not native to Arizona, but I have been here 26 years. And I've worked in government my entire time since getting out of college. I've worked for the state for a while. I've worked for the university. And for the last 10 years, I've worked for the city of Scottsdale in finance, and especially in enterprise funds, which includes water and sewer and solid waste there. So I'm very experienced with the water needs in Arizona. So I can talk about the rest of the treasurer's or the finance stuff in the other meeting.
Do you make the drive, or did you move here?
I make the drive. I'm in Tempe, actually. So it's a nice straight shot out here.
Oh, we gotta lure you out.
We're building a
Well,
lot
I
of
am
houses.
tempted. I am tempted, for sure.
Imposing a
But I
lot of
have lived
fees.
in the same house for over 20 years, so I'm
Yeah.
kind of used to it.
Where were you before Arizona?
Seattle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, two places.
They have a lot of water there.
They have the opposite problem. They have too much water, and it's what do you do with all that water that's flooding everywhere? So
Send it
it's
to Arizona.
completely
Send
different.
it to Arizona.
I'm not sure water's Seattle's problem, but okay.
Well, they have a lot of difficulties. You're right, you're right. But I have seen the slides down the hills of the houses when it rains too much, so. Did you have any other questions for me?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing nothing additional on the meeting, so I'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you.